2 weeks ago was a game of finding space at Lime Rock Park, but this time, the drivers of the Lotus 49 Grand Prix Legend Series will get to stretch their legs a bit as a new season is upon us and takes us across the Atlantic over to Motorland Aragon. Live on the Global Sim Racing channel, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you're watching us around the world. Thanks for joining us. My name is Jeremy Scott. Nico Hillebrand is alongside me in the booth. Spinning the dials is our director, Daniel Costello, and Christian Deploy is providing the eyes around the track. Well, let's take a look at this fantastic track that sits just outside of beautiful Alcany, Spain, with our very own Joe Peak.
Welcome to Motorland Aragon. About an hour and a half west of the Mediterranean coast, this scenic but dusty course is a more recent addition to the Spanish motorsports landscape. Built to replace a dangerous street circuit in the nearby town, it's become a hub of modern racing for the country. Motorcycles are its most famous draw, but it does see sports cars and lower-level open-wheelers visit frequently. Plus, its warm climate makes it ideal for winter testing. Its 7 layouts range between 1.5 to just over 3 miles with 12 to 18 turns. Its most iconic feature is no doubt the towering wall between turns 7 and 13 that accentuate the dramatic elevation changes. However, the difficult Sacacorcho chicane easily has the greatest drop over the shortest period. Reminiscent of Laguna Seca's corkscrew, this right-left flick leads onto a pretty long acceleration zone, even in the GP layout, so it'll be important to get that exit right. Expect most passes into turn 1 are down at the hairpin of 16. But for those who haven't gotten enough of high-speed sweepers, the motorcycle and outer layouts include one final blast uphill and into a tricky late apex. Technical and picturesque, Aragon offers up a little bit of everything and is a versatile facility. It's easy to see why it was quickly embraced by both Spanish fans and race fans worldwide.
Well, Nico, this is one of the newer circuits that we're seeing here in iRacing. It's only 15 years old, but I've got to say, I am really excited about this.
Absolutely. And opened, well, as you said, 15 years ago, almost 16 years ago this year. One day after my birthday, actually. Motorland Aragon is definitely one of the finer creations of Mr. Hermann Tilke, who is criticized widely, but not for this circuit. This circuit is absolutely fantastic racing all the way. Very nice amount of elevation change. 4.98 kilometer lap with this layout that we have that isn't raced nowadays because, well, in general, it's not allowed because of, chicanes and stuff and FIA safety standards. But on here, we can just let her rip and enjoy these 14 turns up and down the mountain.
Safety. Who needs it in Lotus 49? Yes, it's very interesting track. And of course, also Pedro de la Rosa, one of the drivers who actually was a part in getting this done. So this is the first round of the championship for season number 2 here. It's round number 12, 21 laps, open setups, no spare car. You get a drive through at 17 points and a disqualification at 25 points. So the driver's really going to be, with a wider track, Nico, I think that we're going to be okay when it comes to terms of points because 2 weeks ago at Lime Rock Park, we know how tight that is. But here, at the very least, if you go off, you make a mistake, well, sometimes you have the sand trap to suck you in.
Sand trap, gravel, and, at some point the wall, but generally it's a really nice and flowing circuit. That's the beautiful part about this track. You have so much space. I mean, and honestly, with these cars obviously being 1 year, or well, just in the beginning of the aerodynamic evolution of F1, the beautiful part is they can just go completely on mechanical grip and go 2-3 wide without a problem. And you can see from the relation to the driver how absolutely tiny this car is.
Now, with that long back straightaway, you would normally say aerodynamics would have a part to play, but I have a feeling that we're going to see the draft come in, especially in the early parts of the race. And what's going to be interesting is to see which drivers, and I think we know which drivers are going to be using some of the more technical corners, per se, how they're going to handle the opening laps.
Yes, indeed. And it is really, really difficult to get this car spot on, much like any 60s F1 car. But Lotus 49, I mean, it's an incredible car. It's one of the most revolutionary designs in F1 history, with this car also being the first one to utilize the Cosworth DFV, so one of the most, if not the most, single successful engine in F1 history, over 13 years with, if I remember correctly, over 100 or 120 race wins, but I'll have to fact check that again, simply because it's an absolutely astonishing statistic.
And it really doesn't matter what series it's in. The Cosworth, in my opinion, one of the best sounding engines in any race car. We're starting to see flyers come down as we see Kochi with the fastest lap so far with a 35.5. So drivers getting their flyers in as we get ready for today's race. 37.6 out of Ricardo Esponella Martinez. That's good enough for 16th fastest so far.
And we still have a lot of times to see. I mean, we have Valenteus in the grid as well, as we can see here, coming around the final corner now. I think he's not on the flying lap yet, but about to be. So a quite late run from him, I'd say. But, our last season's champion with an absolutely dominant display. And it was just absolutely incredible to watch him race. I think he won all but 3 races in the season, so almost pulling Michael Schumacher in 2002 levels of dominance there.
Yeah, well, anytime Valenteus is in the field, expect him to be at the pointy end as we see Kaki, your leader. He's leading by about 0.3 of a second, but Valenteus has yet to log a lap in 36 seconds in one sector, so that's looking pretty good so far.
All about just setting the car up for the weight shift here. You can see the front suspension. This is one of my favorite parts about this car. You can see the front suspension working so actively still. and the wheel constantly, turning in, slight overcorrection, turning in again. You're really dancing with the car. You're dancing with the throttle pedal, with the brake, and with the clutch, and with the steering wheel the entire time. And all, of course, with a wonderful H-pattern gearbox.
Bill Tyler, the third fastest with a 35.9. The Olsens loused 36.5, 36.6 out of John Olsen. So far as we're watching Valentejus, he's getting close to that timing line. Let's see where he lands, where he trips it. Lap's looking pretty good. Ooh, a little wide coming off that hairpin through there. Touches that, comes down the front straightaway, across the line. 36.8. 36.8. So let's see if he goes for one more. Tixier, the last winner here for the Lotus 49, is currently third fastest.
I gotta say, I'm a bit surprised that it's still comparatively that far off. I mean, when we're looking down the order, it's incredibly close from position to position. So quite literally, I think a lot of people watching these races, other than the hardcore enthusiasts like us, these, a tenth or 2/10 or something, it doesn't seem like a really sizable gap or like too big of a thing, but it's quite literally, a blink of an eye. So a tiny mistake that you do anywhere along this track where you go a little bit too far on the outside, take a bit too much curb, or just turn in a tiny bit too late, and that's gone immediately. And we have this entire grid so incredibly close right now, literally thousands of a second apart.
Yeah, Valentejus still out on track. A couple of drivers out there logging their first laps. Nieve is one of them, as his warm-up was a 46.3, so he should be nearing the end of that lap as he comes into the hairpin. Clicks down just a couple of gears, hits that left-hander as he slides his way onto the pit straight. See what he does this time by, again, your time to beat by Kaki. It's a 35.5 across the line, 36.0. That's good enough for fifth.
Yeah, I think he's going to be quite happy with that. And 36, was it? Yeah, 603 from Valentejus.
And look at the end, who just popped up to second. Valentejus.
35.6, okay.
That was a good lap.
Literally in the closing seconds.
Yeah, literally the closing checkered flag is out. So here is your starting grid. Niko Akaki, your pole sitter, with a 35.5, 35.6 out of last season's champion Valentejus. Guardia with a 35.6, as well as Tixier 35.8. Bill Tyler 35.9. Jorge Nieva 36.0. Sakaro with a 36.0. Gary Ho 36.0 as well. So look at that 6 through 8. You can cover a blanket over them. That's going to be an interesting race there for the close to the bottom step of the podium. Rodriguez 36.1. Glenn Becker 36.3. Nico, what do the rest of the next part of the grid look like?
In row 6, we have Jan Mazan and Xavier Sanchez, followed by Laust Olsen and John Olsen and Olson. So that's a fun 7th row. Row 8 with Pangrazi and Espinella Martinez. Then we have row 9 with Mikael Zabala and Benjamin Estzoko. Then Guillermo Martin Gonzalez Diaz, that is a mouthful, in row 10, joined by Michael Grissinger. Then for 21st, let's go back to Jeremy.
Matthew Maudsley will be alongside Aku Liski. Then Robert Plumley will make up row 12. Cam Porter and Tobias Havarni will make up row 13. Row 14, Juan Rodriguez and Thomas Tuba. And Nico Kyle Ridley and Matthew Keene make up row 15.
And in row 16, we have Ben Summers and Eric Asari. In row 17, we have Jonathan Jordan and Eduardo J. Socaras. And in row 18, the field ends with, that was a bit too fast for me to read.
That is the field as the grid is underway. Green flag is out as Kaki gets the early lead around Valentejus. So he's going to try and get that back, but Kaki takes the lead heading into turn number 1 through 2. This is something we don't see very much as Valentejus. He's actually in second place.
Yeah, look for a little over and under there out of turn 2 and instantly on the far outside of the corner trying to carry as much momentum as possible. But everyone's sort of slowly settling in this wonderfully colorful grid. And, oh my goodness me, this is going to be a good one, I feel already.
Yeah, we mentioned those first couple of laps are going to be interesting for the technical corners as the field works their way around, tries to get the feeling of everybody else. We're looking at Nieva, who's trying to hold off Bill Tyler for 4th place as they go through the downhill section. You know, something that I heard, Nico, when I was doing my research on this track is somebody said that area right there is like Spa. You think it's not so heavy until you actually walk the track. So the elevation change for this track is immense.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And as we have Valenteus just coming out of the slipstream now, looking for the inside for the final corner. And Cotti's looking to stay, not quite alongside. I think he's going to try a bit of an over and under as well with a late apex. But can't quite get it sorted there. A bit off camber there as well. You can see it a little bit as we go up this final corner, how there's the elevation change. But yeah, it's, how would you say it? It's betraying the eyes pretty much with how much there's actually up and down. And I think the best way, you know, just like with Spa, is to experience it firsthand and actually go to the circuit, feel your calves burning as you are basically climbing Mount Everest while coming up Eau Rouge. And yeah.
Looking at Robert Plumley, I should say, in 16th, 17th, Matthew Maudsley. But looks like we're starting to see these drivers find their dance partners early on. Again, a 21-lap race. We're working lap number 2. Valente, who's your leader, but not too far away is Kaki. A lot of great battles here. And watching the battle for 9th, this is the battle for 13th, 14th. One car off. That is Glenn Becker as he gets back underway, but albeit very slowly.
Yeah, that's something that can happen quite easily, I'd say. You know, overcook it a tiny little bit, and this car will definitely show its fangs, not to your opponents, but to yourself. And that's the biggest thing with these historics. Once you have this moment, whoa! Big crash at the start as well. We completely missed that earlier.
Tuba involved with that, so Tuba and Martinez not making the rest of the race after that little schmozzle. So we'll see what happens. Kaki back into the lead. Once again, I think this is what we're going to see. We're going to see the back and forth between whoever's in the lead. Second place, really going to love coming into turn number 13 as Kaki with the fastest lap so far this race.
Gotta say, I absolutely love this dynamic, you know, with this long back straight. I did say, you know, there's no arrow yet, but in the sense of downforce, that's... No, that's not Olsen or Pangrazi or Tixi. Yeah, it is Tixi, I think. No, it's Mikael Zabala.
Yeah, Zabala with a touch there. Laust Olsen trying to go for position. I believe that was for the 11th spot. And he's back underway, but Zabala losing several spots. And with as tight as some of these fields are, Nico, I think that's what we're going to see. We're going to see one mistake. You're going to lose 5, 6, 7, 8 spots.
And that's just the rough out of the deal here, you know? That's... As soon as you have a little bit of contact, it's so easy to lose positions here, because much like any open wheeler, you know, wheel-on-wheel contact, or even on, if you've seen it with some of these Porsche Cup crashes that we've had, not quite here. Oh, that's another big slide.
We got a spinner, and that is going to be Diaz. So Diaz with the off coming into the turn, of course, with the lack of downforce, you're going to see that in some of those tighter corners. They come up on you so quick that it's going to be interesting to see who handles what. As we see Valenteus back in the lead once again down that back straightaway. Kaki trying to do all he can to keep that second place, but Nieva finally found a way to close in. Will we see another pass here in turn number 1? I would not be surprised, though. They might be just a little bit too far away.
A bit too much of a tank slapper there on the outside. Well, too much of a power slide, not quite tank slapper yet. But yeah, Valenteus gets it very well executed, and I think that's the main, you know, thing that he can do at the moment. Get it sorted on the back straight, and then just place himself perfectly in front, just before Kochi on the front straight, basically, because there's going to be too short of a run to be mounting an attack against him there.
On board with Gary Ho. Look at the wheel that he has. It's almost it's a little bit smaller than what you would see in a normal Lotus 49, but nonetheless going for authenticity here as he is trying to chase down Rodriguez for 7th place. That blue number 9 trying to get up one extra position as he gets a little bit of a slide there, and you're just going to see that in some of these corners, especially that downhill turn number 10, also known as Marc Marquez, which this track mostly is a motorcycle circuit. Kind of like what we see with Barber, but these cars are able to really handle it quite well as we've got another battle for the lead. Kaki pops out to the inside, heading into turn number 13, able to secure that lead once again. So move the point again to that number 3 car.
Now, if we have a lead swap right there every end of the lap, it is going to be a bit rough because with this rhythm right now, I think Valentez would come out ahead at the race end. But I think Kaki just has to continuously hold on, just keep placing himself perfectly to, well, keep up there. Maybe not necessarily stay in front, but, you know, keep giving the pressure to Valentez. He's not a guy that cracks under pressure as we've seen last season, but, you know, you can certainly try anyway.
Audsley and Plumley in the battle for position. Also, Pangrazi and Matan are also battling for position. So this is a great little clump right here where you're seeing, you know, the top half of the middle teens there just going for position. Keen falling back just a little bit as well. So one wrong move and you're going to lose a lot more than just 5 or 6 positions as they're side by side going through that 5, 6, 7 area.
Not just that, we saw these tiny little bit of wheel-on-wheel contacts, and in any car, it's just absolutely deadly. You know, you're getting spun around instantly. You can very quickly also just flip upside down. And in these cars, that's definitely not something that you'd want to experience, because you can see this, well, quite frankly, tiny roll bar there that is in line with period regulations, but, you know, completely inadequate for protecting the driver if the car's upside down.
On board with Laust Olsen trying to keep up with Plumley for position. And of course, battle for the lead keeps swapping as well on the back straightaway. Both of those drivers really having to time that out so they can kind of figure out near the end of the race where they're going to be. Of course, they also have to worry about falling off tires as another lap goes by. Look who's come to the party. It's Nieva. So now that 2-car battle for the lead has turned into a 3-car battle for the lead.
And for all those 3 guys, they have proven their mettle already last season. All 3 of them in the top 5 last season. Nieva, of course, in 4th place, then Kochi in 5th place in the standings, and Valentez, of course, our reigning champion. And those 3, I don't think that they much care. But, you know, if it's still an ongoing season or a brand new season right now, they are there to completely establish themselves here without any other repercussions at all.
Valentez with the 1 on his nose. Of course, won pretty much almost all the races last year. Did not run Indianapolis for season 1, but he's definitely one you want to watch out for, especially when he's in your mirrors. Now he's going to set up. Let's see if Nieva has anything for the lead. There goes Valentez on the inside. And Kaki may lose 2 as they go into turn number 13 and 14. But Kaki using that wide line. Now, you can't use that here. It doesn't break the track limits. But let's see what Kaki does. We did see that he was able to get back that lead in turn number 1 last time by. Does he do the same on our overhead camera? Oh, Nieva's going to try and look to the inside. Not going to make anything happen. So far, so good for the top 3. They've broken out to about a 2nd off of 4th place.
Oh, wonderful camera there as well, with the cars being so low to the ground, just sliding over that. We've got Cam Porte at 27th place, trying to look around the outside. Oh, sorry, no, Cam Porte is here on the inside, defending. And, well, making sure to show that the inside line for this corner is a bit better, because, of course, it is slightly off camber. So you still have a bit more track to play with when the grip is diminishing.
We're watching on board with Cam Porter as he's going for 27th. Look who's fallen to 3rd now. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. This is the battle we are seeing for the battle for the lead. As we're looking at Cam Porter on board. Now we go back onto the track again. This is for 26th place as Asari holds on to it. Cam Porter wants it, but Ben Summers, he's laying in wait to see what happens here if either of those two make just one little slide. On to Will Lamb, who's 17th right now. He's right in the middle of this battle between he, Bazala. Looks like Keen just a little bit ahead, Kyle Ridley, and Laust Olsen. Olsen's fallen back just a little bit, back down to 19th.
There's a lot of movement now going on the grid. Koki actually on the fight for the lead as well, through the final corner, going side by side through there. And that was a second, and now 3 wide into turn 1.
I was going to say, across the lines, 0.2 seconds as Koki falls back to 3rd. Nieva keeps that position. Valenteus, well, he's back. He's in 2nd place, so anything can happen. And now that 3-car battle looks like the top 5 are all in position to possibly get that lead. We're 8 laps into this race. Giardia and Sakiro, they are also involved as well. Would not be surprised, Nico, to see Tyler involved in this race here shortly.
Yeah, that is the thing, you know. The circuit can be as flowing as it wants. You can be as fast as you want by yourself. If you mess up once, or if you're in a fight, you lose so much time. It is absolutely unbelievable. And even these guys, when they're going at the top of their speed, you know, we got Sekiro here in the number 5, the nice tribute livery to the Honda RA273. You know, he can go as fast as he wants, but as long as there's cars in front of him and he still has to hold back a little bit, it doesn't matter, you know, he can't just drive through the other cars.
Koki down to 3rd, gonna try and see what he can do off this back straightaway. See if he can make 1, maybe 2 positions up, but with everybody jockeying for position here, Nieva to the inside. He's gonna let discretion be the better part of valor. Give up 1, maybe 2 positions here as we go around the final turn onto the pit straightaway. Looks like we're gonna go back to 3 wide here shortly, Nico. We're side by side at the stripe. 0.051 seconds separates the battle for the lead. Now we've got a 6-car battle. So you got to balance at some point where the drivers, yeah, you want to get out and lead, but at the same time, you still want that position. You don't want too many people having their hands in the cookie jar, which we're seeing right now, I think.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised. Normally, especially in these races where you have to watch your tires as well, you would think these guys would be a little bit more, okay, yeah, I'll have to look after my tires a bit, you know, I'll play it a bit tactical. If I lose a position for now, that's not too bad, you know, I can still gain it back later as long as I don't make a mistake. But this is just a straight up dogfight. It's absolutely beautiful.
No, this is fantastic. This is great stuff as we're on board with Koki. He's got, well, probably one of the better views because he can not only see what's going on with his suspension, but you take a look at the other two. Watch how they're sliding through the circuit right now as we head on through 11 into 12, down that back straightaway. Let's stay on board with this as we're going to see how these drivers handle this. We've seen a couple of them. Yeah, look at, now we get into the defensive line right there as Koki, he's going to pop out to the outside. 3 wide for the lead.
Into the final corner, and that's going to be something to watch out for. Koki goes a bit wide. Can you hold on? And now they're slowly slotting into 2 wide, but Koki around the outside, comes on the outside of the curb there, and somehow, not quite yet, but almost gets to the lead, but is now on the outside for turn 1.
Almost back to 3 wide, and you've got to say this. In spite of 1 car is off, and that's Sakiro. Sakiro's off in turn number 1. Oh, that's got to be, it's heartbreak as he made his way all the way to the front. And now that 6-car battle for the lead turns into a 5-car battle for the lead. But you've got to say this, Nico, with as close as these drivers are, the respect they're giving one another is fantastic. You're seeing them give, at the very least, a half a car width. That's just enough, you know, to where if one guy makes a wiggle, it's going to be just okay because there's enough room there.
Yeah, I mean, that's just one of the crazy parts here as well. You do one slightly wrong movement, you hit a bump wrong, you hit a curb wrong, and you're very quickly sliding wide. And these guys are all calculating that in there with the amount of space they give. So it looks like they're giving a huge amount of space, but at the same time, very respectful, but also giving the bare minimum that both drivers, or well, all 3 or 4 drivers in our case here, need to survive. You know, they're giving each other the bare minimum to just keep fighting.
Another battle I've got my eye on is the battle for 14th between Keen, Lamb, and Ridley. But now we're watching Kaki go to the inside, heading into turn number 14 once again. And does Nieva try and play? He's going to look to the inside. He's still got that tight line, but that could set him up for the pit straight, heading into turn number 14. Kaki back to lead. Valteus, he's going to try and go to the inside point, double out one. Your separation there's Valteus has that position now. Kaki might be in danger of losing second place as well.
That was actually incredible. Did you see how clean of a...
Whoa! Zabala losing his left front wheel. That's not a good situation, but nonetheless, he is off the course, and that's going to be the end of his race. Here's that battle I was mentioning for position between Ridley and Keen as well, as that 3-car battle looking pretty good. They've been like that most of the middle part of the race. We're 11 laps in. There's just so much action going on here that it's just hard to keep up with what's going on as Becker tries to look to the inside of Ridley.
Gotta keep our head on a swivel to get all the action in. But yeah, as you said, Ridley in the middle of that sandwich there and trying to obviously try and get ahead of the guy ahead. But oh, you can also see like with that wiggle there, that wasn't just defensive driving. I think that was also just a bit too much throttle, a bit too much oversteer, and then, you know, keeping it pinned to try and keep up the momentum there.
Now Ridley's lost a little bit of ground there between he and Keen. That has given Becker a chance to close up just a little bit. Look at this battle for the lead as Kaki has it once again. Nieva trying to get into second place, but he goes just a little bit wide coming off of turn number 14 down the straightaway. And I think this is the first time in about 10 laps, Nico, that we've seen everybody single file.
Yeah, that is actually a good point. These guys are all over the shot. Now, you know, relatively nicely slotting in for the moment, of course. We have a quick replay. I think that is, yeah, that is how Zabala lost his wheel. Oh, that is a very big outbreaking himself.
Whoa, little bit of airborne contact. Also, it looks like that Will Lamb was involved. Look at the save that Lamb has. Although he does lose it there at the end of the camera, but Zabala with some contact and just loses that left front wheel. So tough end to the day as that battle that he was in was actually pretty darn good. Back to the front where Kaki opens up his biggest lead in a while, almost a half second, but he's going to lose it there coming off of turn number 9 as they go through Marc Marquez, the legend. And back to what I was talking about before we got all this action. This, you know, with this being primarily the motorcycle circuit, you would think, okay, the tight corners wouldn't be conducive for this kind of racing, but look at this. We see what it does, especially on the long sweepers.
Indeed, and with these sweepers, of course, you can take all these different lines through there, and Valente is really late on the brakes, and Cocky even later. My goodness me, actually getting back up ahead, at least for the moment, through the last corner. Okay, that is the first one we've seen, I think, this race. Actually passing around the outsides and, you know, making a point of staying ahead at least until the start-finish line there.
Oh, a little close there. Kaki's still trying to go high, wide, and handsome to get that lead back. But he almost lost second place there. Nieva got a nose in there, but not going to make that happen. Still got Tyler and Guardia in 4th and 5th place as we're on board here with the number 7. Look at how close that train is for the top 3. It almost looks like one car if you look at it just the right angle. But also Kaki taking a little bit of a higher line through some of those corners. Kind of interesting.
Yeah, I think it's all about how they're also comfortable with rotating the cars. I mean, you can also see a couple of them are very aggressive on those sausage curbs, while others are completely staying away from them, you know, and that is the beauty of having these open setups here. These cars, of course, are all tailored to the needs and the preferences of the driver, And those needs and preferences will also react differently to different parts of the circuit. And that's why you can see these different lines, these different braking zones, and also different approaches, fast in, slow out, or slow in, fast out.
Valenteius taking the inside line. Also a battle for 10th place between Pangrazi, Maudsley, and Matson. That's a tight one. Oh, look at Kaki going way off wide. Had a feeling that was going to happen at some point, but the field's close enough to where Kaki might be able to catch up to those top three, though as close as they've been racing. I don't think that's going to happen. Here comes Plumley around the outside, heading down the long back straightaway, and he's going to try the Greg Moore line through turns number 13 and 14, but he's going to lose a lot of position as he has not enough speed, but a little bit of a wiggle coming off the back end.
Just approaching the crest as well, you know, when there's also another weight shift coming in, so bit of a risky game to play there, but absolutely phenomenal to watch. That's Maudsley, I think, trying to get up to 10th there now. Yep, that's right against Pangrazi. And again, you know, always looking side to side, you know, all these guys always trying to peek into each other's mirrors pretty much. And a couple of them are just close enough they can almost manually see the gears shifting in that Hewland gearbox of that car.
And Ridley trying to hold off Keen and Liskey for 15th place right now. But the problem ahead right now is Keen. So Ridley and Keen, that's about for 15th. It's the 12 and the 15. The 12 and the 15. Also, Glenn Becker at the head of that train. Coming around turn number 9, downhill. Setting themselves up for the long back straightaway. Now, normally, as we mentioned in the pre-race, you're going to use that chicane with, you know, that wonderful wall to the left, but safety. Who needs it for Lotus 49? Sanchez to the inside as well of Gary Ho. That's the battle for 6th place. Sanchez has it for now, but Ho's not going to let it go that easily.
He's in the full immersion zone with the steering wheel, with the VR, with the shifter. So he's probably smelling. He's got probably a car scent tree there as well with exhaust fume smell to properly simulate the immersion there. And maybe it helps him, you know, he's definitely looking quite close to Sanchez, just has to get his footing back to get that gap down again and then just wait for the right moment, which, well, at this circuit it seems to be the end of the back straight. That seems to be the most preferred overtaking spot here.
Yeah, that's the problem. Whoa, Sanchez goes off just a little bit there, but Ho not able to capitalize on that just yet. I wouldn't be surprised if we see that capitalization here in the next couple of corners. But back to the point, it's going to be interesting to see what happens here in the closing stages of this race. I love this camera shot coming around 8 and 9. You really get the sense of the elevation change heading into those corners and down that long back straightaway. Plumley trying to get into Pangrazi for 11th place. He's in the mirrors, but he wants to get around him.
Yeah, absolutely. And now going around that long downhill sweep, slightly off camber again, you know, imagine if that was on camber and actually had a bit of banking there, then that would be absolutely enormously fast, but even like this, it's pretty much always flat out. Plumley now in the slipstream, and of course these cars don't have a lot of downforce, but still, the hole they punch in the air when they run through that is absolutely enormous slipstream. And Plumley looking to the inside of the final corner early on the brakes this time, but places himself on the inside, gets ahead, I think. But
just by a nose.
Counter.
Yeah, Pangrazi coming around the outside as well. He's going to get him by just a little bit, but they head into the other prime brake passing zone, and that's going into turn number 1. Heavy on the brakes. Plumley does finally get that position. And now he sets his sights on Maudsley, but he's got about 8.5 seconds, 6 laps to go. I don't think it's going to happen. Maudsley able to really get up there and battles. Now we're starting to see everybody kind of spacing themselves out.
Definitely getting very interesting here right now, because Plumley is still defending there, and you can see that slight train forming behind him. Meanwhile, Cocky also has recovered from his mistake at the last corner, now breathing down the neck of Jorge Nieva. And he's, of course, trying to stay close to Valenteius as they head down the back straight again. And You can see that the tiniest motion, and these cars shoot over from side to side. It's absolutely fantastic to see.
Well, Van Deus not giving Nieva the line that he needs to make that pass, and he's been able to stay up at the front the past couple of laps, but that's given Nieva a chance to stay to keep in the gearbox of our leader. Boards, he tries to go to the inside. I don't think it's going to be enough there to get the lead, but it's going to be enough for Kaki, who has worked his way back up to third to make his way back into that battle along the podium.
Yeah, not quite able to make the move stick yet, but I think that's also just about applying pressure. You can see these tiny little wing mirrors that the 49 has, and I'd say nothing is more stressful than looking into your wing mirror on the inside of the next coming corner, and there's just pretty much a guy, the guy who's behind you, just winking at you through the mirror, and reminding you that you should maybe look on the inside to make sure that you don't collide as well.
Well, at least they don't have the leader in their mirrors, though they'd rather have him in his mirrors, because really those three are just tough customers all throughout. Battle for looks like 11th, the 5-car battle here.
Yep.
Our eyes on Robert Plumley. He's in the middle of that battle right now, trying to get around Becker. As the field trying to, they've got 5 laps, so less than, to make something happen here. As really, you've got several battles. You've got, let's call it a 4-car battle for the lead. Nieva back in the lead, so he and Valenteus really battling there as they come off the final corner. Nieva trying to do it from the high side. And it's not, I don't think it's going to happen just yet. Nieva's got to really brake really hard going into turn number 1 to keep that lead, because that turn 1, you need to be to the inside.
And it's just the shorter distance there through that corner, but Nieva able to keep the nose in for the second corner. Has to go a bit slower there as well, but the third corner is also a right-hander, still looking to the inside, but Valenteus just gets there with more momentum. And way back before the lead. Guardia also keeping with them very, very closely ever since we lost our Honda liveried friend through that engine failure. Really, really tragic. But these guys, no misshifts from them. Everything is just running pretty much on perfection and trying to force each other into that meaningful mistake to capitalize from it.
1, 2, and 3 are cars 1, 2, and 3. Guardia sits in 4th. He's trying to make sure the Kaki doesn't get too far away. Got a replay here of Becker. I did see him falling through the ranks, and yeah, once again, just takes that turn 13 in way too hot. You definitely don't want to do that. It looks like he only lost a handful of positions as he misses the wall by just a couple of meters.
But I'll be honest, in downforce cars already, so like an LMP1 car or something around there.
Oh, Ridley with the spin. It looks like got a little bit of contact as well between he and Plumley there at the end. So Ridley into the gravel in turn number 8. Not sure what happened there. Hopefully we can get a replay, but Plumley back underway, waiting for Ridley to get involved, to get back on track. And we're also seeing Pangrazi falling down through the field. Olsen's falling down through the field. John Olsen, that is. So interesting to see what happened there.
I think he was already spinning before before they had any contact, but it's tough to say from that camera angle. I hope we get a replay for that as well. Simply, it's slightly downhill, that corner, and messing up the weight shifting there, and losing the rear end is quite easy there. And I think Plumley may have just gotten slightly misguided, thinking that he was going to stay inside, try to spin up the tires, and well, it didn't happen.
Well, we're starting to see lap traffic now coming into play as Zakaris there in the 34 will have to deal with the leaders. Let's see what he does, and if Valenteus, Nieva, and Kaki wait till the back straighter, which really isn't too far away, or if they try and pounce right now. Here's the replay of that incident as we look from Pangrazi's point of view. A little bit of a wiggle there, but what happens on the right-hander? Oh, he just loses it. Just loses it. Nothing you could do there.
Oh, and Plumley was already inside because he had just passed the guy behind him. Then, of course, goes a bit deeper in the next corner and has nowhere to go, basically. That's just really, really unlucky for both of them.
Well, Valenteu's really making these guys work for it as Nieva tries to go around the outside once again, but Valenteu's shutting the front doors. We have 2 laps to go. It's go time for these drivers as now we have that 5-car battle for the lead really tightens up here in the closing stages here at Aragon.
Absolutely a fantastic circuit. We said it at the beginning, I'll happily say it again, and I'll keep saying it over and over again, especially with this layout of the circuit, cutting off that little chicane bit at the downhill left-hander before the back straight. This has been a fantastic show, and Koki is still looking, Nieva is still looking. These guys are front to back from start to finish, not something that you see very often. And I really, really wonder at the end of these around 100 kilometers who will be ahead of in the end.
It's going to be interesting, and I think that back straightaway is going to be a very fun end to this race as look, I love this view back from Valenteu's. You get to see where everybody's trying to set themselves up for the pass. Now, this is going to be the lap where somebody's going to try something that they may try for the final lap, or they may not. As Nieva closes in, Valenteu's not letting anybody take that inside line, but here's what's interesting. He's opening up at least a couple of lanes there going into 13. Let's see how that plays out here in the final couple of corners. 1 to go, Nico, and I think that this is going to be a barn burner of a final lap.
They're going quite literally photo finish over the line as well for the final lap to start now. So I'm shuddering to imagine what's going to happen next time around. They're all over each other. No one's, allowed to make a mistake here. This is now, do or die pretty much. And I'm really wondering, how maybe we get a fantastic move from Koki. There's a very big lunge from Guardia. Maybe a bit late on the brakes, maybe trying to pressure Koki, but we'll never know. Not yet, at least.
Downturn into 8 and 9 for the final time at speed. Valenteu's has really held the point for the most part. He's been in this lead group for most of the race, but will Nieva see what he's been able to do the past couple of laps and make something happen? This is the do-or-die moment for these top 5 drivers as Tyler falls back just a little bit. Is this by design? We're on board with Nieva as he looks to the inside. That's where Valenteu's has really closed up, especially near the end. Is it too early? Valenteu's goes to the inside. Nieva pops to the outside. So far, Nieva has the nose, but is Valenteu's got something up his sleeve? He does. Late braking heading into turn number 13, but Nieva shuts the front door on him. Going through 13. Is it too little, too late for last season's champion? It might be. This is the biggest gap that Nieva has had. Comes down to the line. Checker flag is out. Nieva is your winner. Valenteu's second. Kaki makes his way into third after a mid-race mistake.
And Nieva also, for good measure, getting in that 35.501, the new fastest lap. What a finish! Absolutely incredible. Less than 900ths of a second between first and second place. Oh,
well, Guardia,
my goodness.
Guardia, fourth in that battle. Tyler rounds out your top 5. Yet still battling out there near the back. Matson sitting there in 16th. Let's see if they can get around Olsen. That's John Olsen. Not going to make anything happen, so Olsen will finish in 15th, 16th to Matson. Wow, that was a fantastic battle from start to finish. Cam Porter across the line. He'll finish in 21st position. I got to catch my breath. We knew that it was going to come down to who's going to make that pass, and I've got to say this, Nieva made it happen.
That was a really good run. That was a great setup through that long left-hander, taking an inner line. So not just getting a little bit of that slipstream already through the entire run there, but also shorter distance, getting that run established early, and then having enough to just slingshot past on the outside, brake late, brake hard, and basically slot in the corner, not giving Valenteu's any chance to fight back. That was absolutely expertly crafted, that pass. Fantastic work from Nieva.
Well, Jorge Nieva joins Sebastian Tixier as your winners here at Aragon. Jorge Nieva, your winner. Andres Valenteus sits in second place. Look at the gap. 0.085 separates them. But again, it was that last pass going into the penultimate corner. Nicola Kaki finishes off in third place. Guardia in fourth. Bill Tyler in fifth. Seb Tixier in sixth. Xavier Sanchez in seventh. Gary Ho, JD Rodriguez, and Nico Matthew Maudsley round out your top 10.
11th place, we've got Matthew Keane, followed by Laust Olsen, then Akuliski in 13th. Plumley, after that drama in the closing laps, rescues himself to 14th, followed by John Olsen, then Jem Matson, Benjamin Soko in 17th place, then Glenn Becker in 18th, Roberto Prangrazi in 19th, and Will Lamb in 20th.
Move on to 21st camp order. Michael Grissinger sits 22nd. Eric Essery, 23rd, 24th. Tobias Havarni, 25th. Jonathan Jordan, Ben Summers, Guillermo Diaz, Thomas Willerhausen, Kyle Ridley, and Mats Linden round out your top 30.
In 31st, we've got Eduardo Socaras, then Juan Rodriguez in 32nd, then Mikael Zabala with that tragic accident there, losing a front wheel in 33rd. Then Leo Sequeiro, who was the man that blew the engine into turn 1 in 34th. Then Ricardo Martinez in 35th. And Thomas Tuba rounds out the grid in 36th.
So that's your field for Race 1, Season 2 of the Lotus 49 Grand Prix Legends. As we welcome in our winner, Jorge Nieva. Congratulations. I've got to say this. My heart's racing, and it's not because of the coffee, but what a fantastic race you guys had early on and throughout the whole race. Congratulations.
I think we just lost him. He just he fell out of the commentary tower.
Yeah, I swear I didn't push him out. I wanted to talk to him. I wanted to get more on that. So hopefully we'll hear back from him. Nico, let's go to our next. Let's go to our next sitter. It's third place, Nicola Kaki.
Nicola, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. I'm only have like a weird bug in my headset that I cannot fix yet. So, but I know what to do to make it work again. So I can hear you.
Excellent, excellent. So you came in with a very good qualifying, defending yourself against Valenteus for pretty much the entire race. But I think the main, issue that you had in that race was that one time in the last corner where you went wide. Take us through it.
I absolutely agree with you. And I think the 3D curbs fucked me a little bit because I had a very strange lockup on my inside wheel, and I really not was expecting anything like that because I never had in the whole week. And once once you are that fast and you lock up, you're just going to be incredibly wide. I was just lucky that it wasn't a wall there and I could continue the race, but once I was behind, Jorge is a very smart guy, and I think he waited for the last lap to make his attack, and in the meantime he was doesn't let me get me a chance to pass because they were too wide in every good spot of the track. So he did a masterful race. It did like incredible driving, incredible racing with Audrius as well. Of course, he's the fastest around, and in this track, because you have this super long straight, we could have a chance to actually beat him.
Yeah, my next question is, you were right in the middle of that huge 5-man group fighting for the lead there. What goes through your head most of the time? Are you more focused on the back? Are you more focused on attacking? what's your strategy in that situation to make sure that you don't drop back, but also that you're on top of things and don't get surprised by something coming from the other drivers?
Yeah, this is a very a very hard question to answer. Actually, I think it depends about what you have in the who you have in your back. Of course, if I have Audrius, if I have Jorge, Seb, Mick, or Kevin, I will get a look on the mirror once more rather than one less. But mostly I'm focused ahead and on my sides, and that's you really have to focus on your speed, your entry speed, your mid corner speed, how delicate you are on the brakes, how delicate you are on the gas. So you really have to remember the line, the dance. Maybe it's really similar to dancing, basically. And once you have two more cars around you, you just have less space. The car doesn't change that much because we don't have dirt air or anything like that. But you have less space, so you have to be conscious about that and conscious about net code, so you cannot be too close to the other.
Absolutely. And any shoutouts you want to do? Any shoutouts to friends, team, sponsors, or anything?
No sponsor. I just want to give a shout out to Togo, which took a break. I didn't know the last broadcast, so I want to give this occasion to say the correctly. So I'm super grateful. Togo is the nicest guy he's ever lived. And we are I'm sure that we are going to miss him on the racing, but he did want to take a break, and he did want to take a break, and it's something that I did it myself as well. So it's a good thing, and I want him to know that we will be super happy when we are going to get him back.
That's great to hear. Nicola, once again, congratulations to third place, and thank you for the great show you provided.
You guys, that was incredible racing. I had a lot of fun, and I will try to fix my microphone for the next interview.
Great to hear. Have a good day.
Well, congratulations to Nicola Kaki. Let's see if we can get our race winner back in, Jorge Nieva. You got us?
Yeah. No, I hear you.
What's going through your mind right now? That was an absolutely fantastic race from start to finish, with you up near the front and battling with several drivers. Talk us through at least what your thought process was during the race.
I knew it was a slipstream lottery in the end, so I only wanted to stay in the front group, and I managed to keep there. And first of all, I almost forgot. I would like to apologize to Seb, because that first corner, first lap move by my side was a bit optimistic, I think. So a bit of netcode and my move. So sorry to him, but yeah, I'm happy. I'm happy because today luck was by my side.
I was going to say, because, other than that, it was very respectful racing there at the front, very close racing. But what was the deciding factor in that final pass? We saw Valenteius consistently to the inside, but looks like I thought there you may have made your pass a little too early. Were you calculating that the past several laps?
Nah, I was trying to follow him. He's really an alien. I only could win because of that long straight and the big slipstream of this car. But I was struggling to follow him, so I just got lucky. I think he could have win if he would have he let me pass in the previous lap, but he's really nice. He wanted to fight until the end, and it was really fun.
What's it like winning against one of the best in iRacing? Because we've seen time and time again, Valenteus. If you want to beat him, you've got to go toe-to-toe with him, and you went toe-to-toe with him the whole race.
Yeah, and also Nicola was really fast today. He won Thursday race against Audrius and me. It was a really tight group. But I know I wasn't supposed to win, but this car is really rewarding with the big toe.
All right, anyone you want to thank today?
Well, you guys at GSRC, I love your streams every time. So thank you guys.
Jorge Nieva, your winner here overall in F1. Of course, we also have F2, Nico. Got second place, Jem Matson, waiting in the wings.
Jem, can you hear us?
Yes, at last.
Wonderful. Then 16th place overall, but P2 in Formula 2. How are you feeling?
I'm a little disappointed. I felt I could have taken P10, but man, turn 1 was just out to get me. Actually, I did turn 1 pretty well. It's just that 3 times the person directly ahead of me started to spin a little bit to the inside, and I had to brake to avoid them and kind of paid the penalty for it. But yeah, it's a little disappointing because I felt I could have done better, but I was really amazed I qualified as high as I did. I think I did a little bit better than I usually do, but I think a lot of other people didn't have quite a very good qualifying.
Well, nevertheless, it's always making the best out of the things that you are given, and everyone has the same conditions in the end, so
Yep.
Really good race driven from you, good consistency. What were the biggest challenges for you here?
Well, just about every week I go into a track going, oh man, this is the one. Maybe I should skip this week. This is really bad. And then I set an okay time, and I look at the lap times, and I'm like 3 seconds behind somebody, like said Tixier or somebody like that. I just kind of ignore that. But then I look at telemetry. Usually my first target there is John Olsen, because I know that I can do what he can do. So I'd slowly improve, and it got better and better. I did a few GT4 races here. They were all disastrous, but I did learn the track fairly well. It took some time to be able to really use the curbs correctly. You really have to get the best times here. You really have to straddle the curbs, which is very difficult in this car because it wants to kind of shimmy a little bit. And if you hit that 3D curb under braking, it can be the end of your race.
So, after scouting it out with modern cars already, you decided that a historic one would suit you better. And
yeah,
well, evidently it did, a very good position in the end. In the iRacing category Formula 2, second place overall. That's, I'd say that's a very, very good race in the end, no matter where the overall position is.
Yeah,
And,
by standards of like early last season, that's pretty good. But it wasn't until I think maybe Suzuka last season. No, actually it was Red Bull Ring. It was the third race of the season. I mean, I was starting to get better and better because I had, fortunately, just more time to be able to practice. And Red Bull Ring split, and I ended up taking P1. I was absolutely shocked. I mean, I still have the replay. Like, I got into the grid. I said, how did this happen? I didn't prepare for this. I don't know how to lead a race in this car. I ended up crashing into Mitch Heller because I'd lost my tires the last couple of laps. On the last turn, too, I'm still a little upset about that. Man, I really screwed that up. But, that was when I finally got it into my head. Maybe if I really work hard, I could win F2. I'm really fortunate that Tobias Harnvey went on vacation and Mitch Heller didn't show up to a lot of races. They could have very easily taken that. And Jonathan Jordan, too, if he'd had as much time as I did to practice. Actually, any one of like 10 people could have won F2 last season if they'd had the kind of time that I did to really be able to focus on it. Unfortunately, this season now I'm doing the 2025 IndyCar series, which, that's only like 2 races a month or something. But still, that's where most of my focus is. I still have the feeling that maybe if I'd had the kind of time I had last season, I could have done better this time around. Although I did run into, but Laust Olsen wiped out in front of me in turn one. Man, turn one is out to get me.
Despite the improvement, you survived turn 1.
Yeah.
That's so despite all odds, making it to the race finish. But yeah, nevertheless, really well done. Any shout-outs you want to do at the end?
Yeah, my wife, who always watches the race, even when I'm not in it, and my brother Eric, who occasionally watches races, but only when I crash. They're both. Eric's considering getting into iRacing, but I don't think he can handle me being faster than him. So maybe he should stick to real cars. And my wife has been starting to get into MX-5. Actually, she did the Mount Washington hill climb in the Lotus 49 last week, and actually set a time. It was her first time in the car, and it was Mount Washington of all places. So there's a bright future for her in iRacing if she sticks with it.
Well, awesome to hear. Keep your wife watching. Keep your brother from watching. And yeah, enjoy. Congratulations again.
Thanks. Take care.
That's it. That's interesting. A little bit of brotherly rivalry. Real quick, Nico, final thoughts.
Oh, well, this is just the start of the season. I'm honestly looking forward to the rest of it. Next week we're going to be at Road Atlanta. So that's going to be another, I think, a very, very fantastic race to look at here. And we also have Nürburgring combined, so actually bringing these monsters back to the Nordschleife where they were intended to race.
Yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun. Of course, thanks to the team today, Nico, Daniel, and Christian. Make sure you check out our social media, website, and merchandise store. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well, so you don't miss a moment here on GSRC. And as Nico said, our next race is next week at Road Atlanta, 9:30 a.m. Eastern, 13:30 UTC. Coming up next year on GSRC, it's IMSA Vintage from Road Atlanta. You definitely don't want to miss that. It's going to be a barrel of fun, and kicks off at about noon Eastern. Check out our other broadcasts listed right here. And I'm Jeremy Scott. Thanks for joining us. Until next time, race hard, race clean, and we'll see you on the track.